Throughout the day today, I'm just going to be coming out and filming certain sections around the property that are in shade at the moment because my phone just cannot handle being in the sun for too long before it starts to overheat. So we are going to start our August garden tour right here in the shade of the pond garden and discuss what's going on here in August in my Zone 7A Spotsylvania, Virginia garden. So the hostas are still looking pretty good. This time of year we start to see a little bit of the scorching happening. These hostas get just a little bit of the hot afternoon sun for maybe 30 minutes or an hour, and I think that's just enough to get them a little crispy on the edges. But I don't really mind it. I think it's so subtle, nobody really notices except for me. I'm just being critical. Beautiful Sum and Substance there in the back. Coast to Coast over here. There's a Frozen Margarita, Wrinkle in Time, Halcyon, Rainbow's End. Just a beautiful little collection in here. And I really enjoy this garden because it's so low maintenance. It has been a very low maintenance ever since I got it established. And when I start adding more and more plants to my existing gardens and I start creating more garden beds, it's gardens like these where I'm just like, oh, at least I don't have to really worry about this. This one just kind of takes care of itself. That being said, though, my creeping Jenny in here is starting to become a bit of a problem and starting to make this bed less low maintenance. I have already thinned out the creeping Jenny once this year and pulled it out of the stream, and literally a month later, maybe 2 months later, it's back again. So something to consider. I may be pulling out the creeping Jenny and finding a different ground cover replacement for it because, well, she's just thug. I also have a different variety of ground cover up here. It's kind of difficult to see because it's not really doing very well, but it is the Scotch and Irish moss. And I'm not sure why, but it just seems to be thinning itself out in here. I guess it's looking a little bit better like underneath the canopy of these hostas, but yeah, it's just like day by day, it's just getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And so I think I'm going to start adding more of the Burgundy Glow Ajuga in here. You can see a couple little starts that I have. I have a few patches of this in my shade garden along the side of our house that I really, really love. And both of those patches are fairly close to the border of the lawn. So every once in a while, if I start to see some pieces that are starting to encroach over towards the lawn, I just gently pull them out, and I've just been putting them in here, and they just transplant so easily. They really like the conditions over here, which are pretty moist soil, consistently moist soil in the shade. And so I think that might be a nice alternative to the creeping Jenny and the Scotch and Irish moss once it finishes up. So there are a couple ferns down here. I have a ghost fern, which is doing a lot better this year, and also a Japanese painted fern, which had a really rough start this spring for some reason, but a couple new fronds coming back. Looking pretty good. Fish are doing really well. You probably can't see there, but there's one in there that's probably like 4 inches long now. He's growing so fast. It's exciting. Okay, let's come up to this area here. I did change things up just a little bit. We had the black truffle lobelia cardinal flower here. This was shown in the last video, and it's mostly just about finishing up blooming. Really beautiful plant. I would really, really love to have more of this. Unfortunately, one of the plants right here, the stalk broke right before I was shooting the July video, and anyway, all this new growth is starting to emerge around it, so that's a good sign. I can also see on this plant here that new growth happening at the base of that plant too, which is great. Another thing I'm noticing in this area, when I was weeding a few weeks ago is these little guys right here. This one too. I am pretty darn sure that those are seedlings from the black truffle lobelia. Oh look, there's a good one here too. I've been gently pulling those out and putting them in these little containers, trying to get them to root in, because black truffle lobelia does like to have wet feet. You can see all those nice roots developing in here. But, oh yeah, it's a good one. Anyway, I would like to make my colony bigger. And so if I can harvest those seedlings and take really good care of them, and then maybe in a few weeks we can just plant them around the existing group, next year we'll have a bigger show. I also added in the variegated Japanese iris. These were actually planted along the deck over there, and I took them out over here because they can tolerate wet soil, and I sort of needed something else that was tall to kind of break this up, because when you have like nothing but like a short ground cover like these impatiens, and then you suddenly have like a 4-foot tall plant, it's just kind of jarring. I kind of wanted to have something that was a nice level in between. So Japanese variegated iris is in here, and I also moved some of the calla lilies that were in this front section too. So hopefully as time goes on, this little group just works well together. And this is where I planted the arborvitae fern. It seems to like this location. I've had it in the ground here for probably close to 8 weeks now, and it is not showing any sign of stress or dissatisfaction with the location. So no sun scorch on the leaves. Again, this is a pretty consistently wet area, and it seems to be handling it just fine. So I'm glad to see that. In the front section here, originally I had some marigolds and alyssum seedlings that I just threw seeds in here, and they did start to grow, but then the bunnies came in here and they mowed down all of my marigolds. It looked horrible, and so I had to find a replacement, and I got these sun patience, just a mixture. There's some white, I think that's like an orchid something, orchid pink, and then this variegated one. But they're in here doing very well. Again, this is, you know, fairly wet soil consistently, and they seem to be handling it just fine and filling out and looking great. There's another clump of the Japanese variegated iris here. This is where I had the backdraft Nyphophia planted, and these two plants basically swapped positions. So the Nyphophia is up against the deck where the iris used to be. All right, and then over here we have Summer Crush hydrangea, which I did sort of trim off just the blooms on the front side here, mostly because I needed some more space to do some planting in the front, and they were kind of flopping onto the ground. So now they're nice and upright again. This is one of my favorite hydrangeas. I just absolutely love the color on it. And I did dig out the other Summer Crush hydrangea that I had in the side yard right over here. It's now right here because I really just want to have a nice layered, like, I don't want to say a hedge because it's not going to be a hedge, but I want to have like 2 pieces in here that are the same. And I'm really happy with how the Summer Crush hydrangea has performed over here. So I'm really hoping this one takes to its new location and gets nice and big like its friend over there. And yeah, I did plant in a couple more of the frozen margarita hostas right here. This one was always here, and look how big it is, right? That's like a nice, beautiful, full-grown specimen. Each of these 4 that you see here are going to be just like that next year. And I have 4 more of these that I intend on planting right in this section. So the impatiens won't be here because they're annuals. I'll find a new spot for this hosta probably over on the other side. And I may have to reposition this astilbe somewhere else. But we're just going to have a nice shiny group of the bright foliage, those frozen margarita hostas right in front of both of the summer crush hydrangeas. Are going to be really pretty. There is a bloomstruck hydrangea right here, which is here for now. I don't know if it will stay here. I haven't really been too fond of the bloomstruck hydrangeas since I've had them for 3 or 4 years. The 2 that I had here have been the best performing ones, but the 2 that I have around the front door have been pretty horrid. So I think I'm ready to switch them out for something else. But for now, this one can stay here. I also added in some serendipity alliums in the front. I'm realizing that this area is not very well draining, even though it's on a slope. And so these 3 right here, I'm probably going to have to move those up to higher ground just to keep them happy. Some more impatiens, astilbes, there's some ferns. Oh, that's where the Moonfrost Canadian hemlock found its home right here. And it seems to be doing okay. It's not like we're going to see this push new growth this time of year. So in the springtime, we'll be able to see. Actually, that does look like new growth, doesn't it? Well, it's recovering better over here, because in where I had it before, it was getting too much sun and it was starting to drop needles. So here's a wedding gown hydrangea, which I love. This thing performs very, very well for me in pretty much full shade. And I ended up getting 2 more of these to replace the bloomstruck hydrangeas that I have at the front door. So hopefully those do just as well. You can see there's a couple hostas over here. I wish I knew the names of this one. That one's really pretty. I also like this one too. It has like a nice round cup shape to it. I know this one here is yellow polka dot bikini. Very nice. And then up here we have our fall feature tree. This is our dog Aspen's memorial tree. It's a dwarf shishi ginkgo tree, which even though it's not in like its season right now, it's not like shining and beautiful, I still love the color, and I really love the shape of the leaves and just how different it is. It just kind of rises up and looks quite pretty. Really love that. And that is pretty much the shade garden. I think we can probably walk over this way around the corner here and see what's going on. I just recently limbed up the Norway spruce there just to kind of lift her skirt just a little bit. It was getting a little ridiculous trying to cut the grass underneath all those branches, so I've still got to do something with the remains of that. But I did move the Virginia Sweetspire from the front yard over here. This is kind of where we have, again, like really poor draining soil. I don't know if you can see the lawn. We have like ruts in the lawn where the lawnmower comes through, and it's just muddy. Ugh, it just doesn't drain well, and I don't know why, because it's on a slope. I don't understand this. But anyway, that area is very wet all the time, and that plant likes to be where it's consistently wet, so hopefully it's happier there. This bed is on the chopping block. Okay, and let me rephrase that. It's not like I'm gonna get rid of it. I just need to do some serious editing here because this is the third year that I have had the limelight hydrangeas in this bed, and this is what they look like every year, and I don't like this. This is not a good look. This is just a flopperific mess over here. They're literally smothering all my other bushes that are underplanted here, and I'm kind of ready for something else. So, oh look, there's a butterfly. So anyway, I may consider something different for this area. A different shrub might perform better here, and maybe we'll just relocate these hydrangeas somewhere else, but I can't stand the look of this. The raspberry beret coneflowers, these were heavily infected with the rosette mites this spring. And they have, I guess, kind of recovered a little bit. You can see like this plant is looking the best, but even still, like we still have the rosette mites here. They're not as bad as they were, but just one of those years, I guess. The calamintha is blooming. Some lemon coral sedum in the front. There's a globe nana juniper. You can't even see. There's the cordalo hinoki cypress that's being smothered by the hydrangeas. I did replace the abelia that was here that was not the radiance abelia. It was a different variety. I found a new one that is now a radiance abelia to match the other two. So now we have a group of 3 that are all the same. And the unknown variety is now over there. This area is interesting. In the spring, I added in 3 rhododendrons, 1 here, 1 right where that hole is, and 1 right there where that hole is. And all 3 of them died, even though they're on drip irrigation. And I'm wondering if this big, large tree above them was just like, you know, it has a big root system. It probably was drinking all the water, because I think rhododendrons have pretty shallow roots, so they can dry out a lot easier. I'm really not sure, but I was not happy about this because that was just money thrown away, basically. So I'll have to reconsider what I plant here. Something that can be a little more drought tolerant, I suppose. There's some Jack Frost Brunnera. There's some more of this opening act white phlox, not blooming right now. It's probably too shady for it. And then the 3 hydrangeas here are the painter's palette that obviously are not in bloom right now, but maybe next spring we'll get to see how beautiful they are. Oh my gosh, look at this. A mushroom. I wish I knew what kind. It looks kind of like a brain. How funny is that? Okay, and real quick, since we're here, hopefully you guys can't hear the AC unit. I have a mic on because last video was horrible. Right across the way we have the Invincibelle wee white hydrangeas, which are still maintaining kind of this beautiful limey green color in their spent blooms. And they surround this beautiful Twombly's Red Sentinel Maple. You can see all this great new growth. We've gotten from about here all the way up. That might be 18 inches of new growth since I planted it here, which is great. It's growing in the right direction. And I also planted in some Sun King Aurelias literally 2 days ago. They're also on drip. They're probably not happy about the direct sun that they're getting all of a sudden, but this doesn't receive much sunshine throughout the day, like part sun. So hopefully in time, this whole area looks a little bit better. Here's my Monet Weigela. This was moved from the front yard over here because I'm kind of not impressed with this one, and it's just here for now. Some more astilbes. This is one of the patches of the burgundy glow ajuga. And see, like this right here, you see how this one's like getting a little too close to the lawn? You can easily just pluck these out. They're not deeply rooted. Is that all the roots? And you can just dig a shallow hole somewhere else or pot this up in a little container and let it kind of, you know, recharge itself a little and then plant it somewhere else where you want it. I just think this is such a wonderful plant. And then over here we have a new evergreen piece. This is a boulevard cypress, which has beautiful blue foliage. It's very soft to the touch. Doesn't have like the prickly pokiness that your junipers and blue spruce might have. And I believe this can grow up to 5 to 7 feet tall and wide, which will fill out that spot very nicely. These can easily be size controlled and shaped. A lot of people shape these into topiaries. I'm quite happy with the form that it has right now. So we'll just keep that going. This hydrangea is a macrophylla hydrangea, a white flowering macrophylla hydrangea. I believe it's called Sister Teresa, and her bright white blooms have faded into this kind of limey green color, and now we're starting to see some of that pink and purple tone developing on there, which is also just as nice. But she's very happy. If you see all these nice tall stems up here, what are there? 1, 2, 3, 6 of them. These are all the new growth from this year that grew from the ground, right? Love this. This thing is just thriving over here. There are also a few of the old school azaleas, 4 of them. They are the Korean spice azaleas. These ones have been struggling with the azalea lace bugs for quite a while, and I probably need to get out here and give them another treatment, but this is what the azalea lace bugs end up doing, is they kind of take the chlorophyll out of the leaves. Okay, and then on the back side, you'll start to see this like speckling. I think that's how you know you've got them. But yeah, I just got to get in here and treat them again. Another beautiful group of ajuga. Love the burgundy glow. And then this little shrub here is the variegated radicans euonymus. I have had this for probably 3 or 4 years, and every once in a while they get like one like long piece like this. It kind of just goes off in whatever distance it wants, and I just come in and trim it. This is very easy to keep at this size, and I want it to stay at this size. I really think it's great. But the deer also like this, so make sure to spray that with the deer repellent. I added in some of the variegated Hakonakloa, or Japanese forest grass here on the skirt of this border. And those will fill in eventually and look very nice. And then this big hole that I have, that is where I intend on putting an evergreen statement piece to be the anchor on our northwest corner of the house. And I'm pretty sure I want the soft serve Chamaecyparis. I think that would be excellent right here because it doesn't get too tall or wide. And I want something evergreen. I need to have something like beefy right there. So now I gotta go find one. We have the Delft pink lace astilbes here. They have a beautiful like darker colored foliage. And I left the spent blooms up because they still have this like faded, kind of like dusty rose color to them. And I don't mind them. I think they're really pretty. Jack Frost Brunnera here in the front. And there is a Catabian spursalt rhododendron. This is the only rhododendron that I've planted this year that hasn't perished. And might I add, this is doing really well. You can already see like some buds on here for next spring. Oh, thank goodness. Anyway, this one will get 5 to 7 feet tall and wide. And we'll make room for it. These don't grow terribly fast, but we'll just make room for it as it decides to size out a little bit more. Oh, another Sun King Aurelia that I still need to put in the ground. And then I added 2 hydrangeas in here. These are the Ruby Slipper oak leaf hydrangeas. And these can get 3 to 4 feet tall and 4 to 5 feet wide. And so let me back up just a little bit here so you can see the full effect. Those will basically just fill, just kind of come up a little bit. They're not going to cover the porch. They're just kind of come up just a little bit and then fill in and hopefully look really nice. And I got these ones because their foliage turns this beautiful like red mahogany color in the fall, and I think that would just be wonderful. Don't we need like another red piece over here, right? I don't have much red. Well, I have the astilbes, that's dark, but it's not red. Anyway, just a thought. A couple more azaleas in here. Nice evergreen through the entire year. And then back here is a Sun King Aurelia, a full-grown, full-size. I think they're supposed to get 3 feet tall and wide, though many gardeners claim they can get taller if they're in the right growing conditions. So I just worry it's going to end up eating my boxwood right there. But hopefully you can see why I want more of these. They're so great. And then over here we have our beautiful Emperor 1 Japanese maple, which did take on quite a bit of damage from the Japanese beetles this year, but it's, you know, it's such a large tree at this point. It can't hurt it too badly. And then right here in the front, we have 3 of the Mojo pittosporums here. You can see like the brighter color foliage, that's the new growth, but usually they mature to this variegated color, which is really pretty. And this is evergreen, by the way, a leafy evergreen, something different than, you know, having a conifer out here. Some of these impatiens are looking pretty decent. Hostas, some purple heuchera. And let's jump over here to this side that's in the shade. So this specific area that the camera is looking at is an area that hangs on to a lot of moisture for reasons unknown. I really don't know why, but it just drains very poorly over here. And so I have been watching some of my plants in here like really struggling because they're basically drowning in too much water. So I had to relocate a hydrangea. It was right here, and now it's up in the front. There's a rose that was over here that's now over there by the Joe Pye weed. I dug up the Japanese maple and moved it forward about 4 feet. I planted it in a very shallow hole and just mounded up the root ball because all these plants don't want to be in like soggy soil conditions. So I also had to remove some coneflowers and salvia, just place them in different areas just to keep them alive basically. So I replanted some things in here. There's some Japanese, variegated Japanese iris that was on the other side of the driveway that's now over here. I added in some phlox. This is the prismatic pink phlox, and I also added in some of the ultraviolet phlox, though most of those flowers are done. We had a lot of rain, so phlox flowers don't really last for very long in the rain. Serendipity alliums here, Ascot rainbow, euphorbia. This one doesn't look as good as some of the other ones do, probably because too much water. This is a Rheingold arborvitae. which is looking really good. And you know what? This foliage feels so similar to that boulevard cypress. Like, seriously. Some annuals in here, ageratum, there's a vinca, some zinnias. This is where the Annick rose has found its new home. And you know what? Look at how terrible this foliage looks down here. This is because of all the water that it was getting and not happy. Since I've planted it here 3 weeks ago, look at this. A whole new piece of new growth up here and the first bud. I think she's happy here. I think this is going to be a good spot. Firelight tidbits, looking pretty good. This is a great looking ascot rainbow euphorbia. Jacob's ladder. I have consolidated several of my Dahlia grow bags over here to this one area. Looks like we've got, I think this is Teesbrook Audrey and Golden Scepter. And this is an unknown variety, just a kind of a pink color here. That one's still not blooming. And this is where the My Monet Weigela and Sweetspire, Virginia Sweetspire were. You know, I just kind of got tired of them here. They just weren't really like showy enough, so they've been moved and they've been replaced with some other things. So there's another ascot rainbow euphorbia. This one was in too much water, and you can see how horrible this looks. So hopefully over here it'll recover a little bit better. Some cherry truffle heuchera. These have always been here. I have not had really good luck with these in general. These three are the ones that still look okay, but honestly, like, I've lost several. Serendipity alliums, Jacob's ladder. There's a opening act white phlox back there, calamintha. Radiant Sibylla on the end, on the cap here. Here's my other Radiant Sibylla on the other side here. This is the original one that I planted spring of 2022. And it is now about 3.5 feet wide and probably 1.5 feet tall. It is so beautiful. I can't wait for the one over there to match its size, so they look a little more symmetrical. Okay, some other plants on this side. I added in a peony on clearance. It was kind of an impulse buy. I'm not a huge fan of peonies. I like them, but I really like the foliage. I know, I'm a fan of the foliage. The flowers are great. They don't last long, but I like the foliage. This is where a couple more of the cherry truffle heucheras, I transplanted them, 3 of them. That one's dead, that one's practically dead, and this one will probably be dead in the next video. I don't know why, they just can't handle, I don't know, all the rain probably. I did buy some more of the raspberry beret coneflowers. I could not help but buy these though. Look how gorgeous they are. There is a summer crush hydrangea that doesn't look that great, but as long as it survives the winter, it will come back and be extra beautiful next year. Over here we have a Daphne, which is an evergreen, and I've had this for a little over a year now. I don't think I've ever talked about it though. It's kind of like, I don't know, doing its own thing over here. Ascot rainbow euphorbia. This one's looking really nice. Some more of the serendipity alliums. I moved one of the irises that was in that kind of soggy area. That is now over here. I think that one's called Harvest of Memories. A couple more of the firelight tidbits. This one that's right here in the front, that one used to be back there, and I decided to move it right here. I got rid of the butterfly bush that was right here, the chrysalis blue butterfly bush. Yeah, I think as time goes on, I'm gonna start getting rid of those ones because I'm noticing that's a variety that does seed itself around, and I don't know. If I'm being honest with you, I really like the Pugsters. I like Pugster Blue, Pugster Amethyst. I have really good experience with both of those, and they stay like really small, and I like them. Catmint in here at that back. There's also some of the pink Profusion Salvia that has been cut back. Am I missing one? Oh, there it is. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then also, what a fun little surprise this is. This is a new common milkweed shoot. So your common milkweeds, I have them. There's one right here. I'm pretty sure this is the plant that's coming from, but I have a couple that are standing tall back here. I added these in this year. Usually in their first year, they do not flower. They sort of just get their roots established, but these do spread by rhizome roots. And so probably from this plant here has sent off a runner all the way over here, almost 2 feet away, and boom, new plant. So we will probably expect to see more of these throughout the garden. And of course, where you don't want them, you can just pull them out. That's what I intend to do. But I am excited to get a little more of the common milkweed established in certain areas. That zinnia back there is from the Art Deco mix. That is the one and only seed that made it. I don't know why. That one was a very difficult one for me to get to germinate, but this one and only plant has produced some very nice little pom-pom flowers. How big those are and fluffy. White swan cone flowers. I did tuck in a little truffle of pink gombrina right here, and I kind of like the look of this. I kind of like that it has a very low foliage density. It's very airy. The stems just kind of come up and the flowers just kind of float there. And certain angles, it's just really pretty with the white cone flowers. Endlessly coral, endlessly blooming. I want to just tell you, this was the very first daylily to bloom in my garden, and it continues to sporadically throw out another scape here, another scape there. I mean, it's still going. It's great. I think it's named perfectly. Endlessly coral. Love it. This thing here, which is also coral, is one of the Senorita zinnia seedlings that I grew from seed. There's one too. These ones aren't doing as well as this one plant that I have right here. This one is just very prolific and really big, large blooms. Great. It's so healthy though. Oh my gosh. And the form, it's like a cactus form. Beautiful color. Big blooms. I mean, these are probably close to 4 inches across. Really nice. Queen of Sweden rose. Poor thing has been just devoured by the Japanese beetles. But look how thick this cane is. This is the first year in the ground. When I got this thing, it was probably right about this tall. Maybe a foot tall. And it's growing, and this one cane here is getting, I don't know, what do we think? That's probably close to 3 feet tall. And another little bud developing up here. More of the queen lime zinnias here. Look at this one. This double, just super fluffy, ruffly one. Oh, so pretty. Is that a carpenter bee? There's another really great looking one. Queen lime, yes. Beautiful. And then this tall plant here is the Gonthocarpus, or commonly known as hairy balls milkweed. It's given that name because the seed pods look like hairy balls, and I can't wait to see what they look like. But this is the flower. They kind of just kind of like dangle there. Look at how pretty. I did change things up a little bit in this garden. I thinned out the iris a little bit because it was starting to come over to the pathway a little. So what did I do with it though? Oh, I know what I did. Okay, yeah. Sorry, it's been so long. I dug out some of the irises and I moved them right there. They're right behind the white swan echinacea. So now we'll have a group of the Peggy Sue irises here and some right across the way. So it'll be like a little mirror action going on there. I transplanted some of the Royal Candle Speedwell in the front here. There is a catmint here. Oh my gosh, look at this veranda cream rose. Again, like all this new growth. You see the red growth in here? New growth. This thing is crazy. I love it. Another bloom coming soon. Wow, I love this one. It's just great. The lantana is really, really picking up in here. Look how large that's getting. I cut back the artemisia so that it wasn't getting so scraggly. You know, sometimes they just benefit from like a nice little trim, and then they'll flush right back. Don't worry. We can see some of the other things in here. This is some of the butterfly weed, milkweed. And this is one of my favorite milkweeds, might I add. It's a smaller, like compact size. It blooms for a very long time. And if you are using cuttings to feed monarch caterpillars that you may be raising, these plants regenerate themselves so quickly. It's a blessing because you will always need more milkweed. Here's what the opening act white phlox looks like. These usually bloom a lot heavier in the spring, but apparently they're very happy in this location. I used to have one of the Ascot rainbow euphorbias right here, but again, a little too boggy of conditions here. So this is a golden Helleray holly. I have one of these where my hose reel is in the back. That one in the back is not getting enough sun, so it's not as yellow as this one is, but this is definitely full sun here, and I think that's going to be a great little spot for it. You can see the Dahlia over here is blooming quite nicely. And then over here, oh, look at this. Do you guys see that huge praying mantis? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, like praying mantises are cool and everything, but they're also really freaking me out. I saw a huge one of these like flying the other day. Oh my gosh. Wonder what it's hunting. It looks like it's about to strike. Oh, we got it. Oh. Poor spider. Oh, yikes. Okay, well, at least that wasn't us. You know, if those things ever got like prehistoric big, oh, I would be in trouble. Those things really freak me out. I got very distracted by the praying mantis, so I didn't finish telling you what these coneflowers were, but they are the Prairie Splendor Compact White. And I have these sort of interplanted in between some of the pink profusion salvia. There's also some cat's pajama nepeta down here. So hopefully this area fills in like I'm expecting it to, and in the spring especially we'll see a much more colorful show. I hope that the coneflowers survive because I typically don't have great success with coneflowers in this particular area for whatever reason. Couldn't tell you why. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys about this daylily. This did bloom, and I got to see probably 5 beautiful open blooms until the deer came and ate the rest of them. But I'll see if I can find an old clip and put it on here so you can see what it looked like, because it was really pretty. And yeah, wish it lasted longer, but whatever. Back here, this is a Cripsii Hinoki cypress. And I'm not sure, when I purchased this thing, it was much smaller and it was in a globosa form. And so I was under the impression that it was just like a small kind of shrub thing. But it wasn't until this year that I realized it's a tree. This is the leader up here. And I double checked the tag and it can get like 8 to 10 feet tall. So, I guess I need to prepare for a tree in that spot, which will be fine. You know, I'll just have to move some of the liatris away from it, and obviously the dahlias will not be here next year because they're like annuals basically. But that will be fun, you know, fun little filler piece right there. I think that'll be nice. All right, let's go down this side here because we didn't catch this side, I don't think. Oh, here's a little friend. Eastern tiger swallowtail enjoying glamour girl phlox. These phlox typically don't last very long when it rains. The rain just knocks the petals out. So it was pretty though when it was in full bloom. Ogon spirea. I know we talked about a lot of the plants on the back side of this garden bed, but up front here, more of the firelight tidbits. This one on the front here, you can still see it has like yellow leaves, and that's because it was in a very soggy condition. So I think that will correct itself as time goes on. But beautiful little grouping of 3. Next year, all of the groupings of the firelight tidbits that I have are going to be like really full and beautiful. Let's see, anything else? Oh, my Joe Pye weed. I do have like a little string around it because during the really heavy rainstorm that we had a couple of days ago, I looked out the window and this poor thing was just splayed out like, I was really concerned we were going to lose a bunch of branches. And this particular plant has been such a pollinator party over here. There was a day about a week ago when I came out here and there were 5 Eastern tiger swallowtails on this thing all at the same time. And I was like, out of all the plants, I mean, I've got a buffet of things out here, but for some reason, everybody's all about this plant. And it is a dwarf variety. This is called Little Joe Pye weed. I mean, I think it's at least 6 feet tall, but it's great. Let's see. We're following the shade. I think we got just about everything. Oh, let me show you this one corner here. So I put in like a little piece of creeping Jenny last year or the year before, I don't know. This year it has really taken off here, and I was under the impression that this did really well in shade, and it does, but clearly it can tolerate full sun. And not just that, but it can also tolerate the very extreme heat that it's getting off of this asphalt driveway. It's very bright out here in full sun. But I have a feeling that I will also regret planting that here, because look at this, it's already growing into my blue zinger grass. Yeah, this area needs some help. This hydrangea, this is Seaside Serenade. Hampton's hydrangea, and this was on the clearance rack. Kind of a small one for now, but I believe this gets 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide. So in time, it will fill out that corner quite nicely, backed with the Sun King Aurelias, which again, look at how great these are. I hope that they get just a little bit taller next year, so they kind of cover all this ugliness we have going on the wall. But if they get a little bit taller, and then we have this beautiful hydrangea just kind of filling off this corner here, it'll be really nice. And honestly, if I can get more of that burgundy glow ajuga in here, because look at these impatiens. Kind of pitiful, right? Anyway, here in this little flat, I have started. I've picked off some pieces from the other groups that I have, and I just started them in these containers. And I was at Home Depot the other day. They're literally selling this size, this plant for like $4. It's kind of ridiculous when you can just make your own. I'm gonna rework this. The coneflowers need to kind of go back. And then I'll put these sedums in the front. Just kind of, I gotta rework this area. And of course these Dahlia grow bags are not gonna be here forever, but let's look at these patches. This is another one, patches here. Almost all red. I think that's supposed to be Thomas Edison. Anyway, what a work in progress that is. Forever Goldie Arborvitae, of course. And the Pugster Blue Butterfly Bush, looking amazing. This is probably 2 to 2.5 feet wide and 1.5 to 2 feet tall. And I have had this exact plant here for 3 full years, and this is how it performs for me every single year. It just looks amazing. The initial blooms are the largest, and then the secondaries become a little bit smaller, but I mean, you can kind of see that. Still great color. Pollinators love it. It's really quite nice. And then I did change things up in this little section here. I think I talked about that when I was talking to you about the pond garden, but I moved the Japanese variegated iris that was back in here. That's now in the pond garden, and I moved the backdraft Nyphophia over here. A couple of these plants, they just don't take well to transplanting, especially when they're in peak season, so they tend to flop afterwards. That's why there's tomato cages around them. You know, you just gotta get creative sometimes. Reworked the coneflowers a little bit, so now the tall purple ones are in the back. Over here, the red ones in the front or middle, and then the orange ones are in the front. There's a narrow leaf ironweed plant here that has been trying to grow in a container for years, and now that I have it in the ground, hopefully it will be unleashed and it will actually get to its true size, which is going to be a lot bigger than that. Some more of the, oh, what is this, little gold star rudbeckia. How cute that is. Look how great this color is next to Pugster Blue. Right. Love that. And then we have our hedge of Miss Pearl butterfly bushes, which are loving their life. They are in peak season right now. The pollinators love them. I just kind of think they're a little bit too big, and that's me again. I'm being really picky. I wish they were like a foot shorter and a foot less wide, and they would be absolutely perfect, but oh, I just love it over here. I don't know what to tell you. Here's another Dahlia. This is the Fire and Ice Lemon. Kind of a clear white with like a highlighter yellow. I need to come in here and do some deadheading. Patio planters are still looking really nice. There's a butterfly back there. Yeah, we've been seeing quite a few butterflies this year. Definitely a lot more of the swallowtails than the monarchs, which is unfortunate for us. I've only released 48 monarchs this year, and we currently have 8 in the chrysalis. So if they all come out, we might get up to 56. But usually this time of year, we see a lot more monarchs, and we have a lot more eggs and caterpillars to harvest, and we're just not having the greatest of luck this year. So I hope that you're seeing more monarchs in your neck of the woods, in your gardens. I hope your gardens are beautiful and abundant, and lots of color and lots of flowers and lots of pollinators to come visit. And yeah, that's it for the August tour. I'm gonna head inside, and we'll check back and see how things are going in about another month.